ABC classification is a way by which the organization tries to uh, categorize the different SKUs that it has and distinguish between them for the purposes of management. So we have a company here called Union Electronics. It's a medium-sized manufacturer of metal items for the home appliances industry, and it has 127 stock keeping units. The unit cost of acquiring these items and their annual consumption are given in the Excel worksheet, which is titled IN04. So we need to perform an ABC analysis and make a recommendation to the company on how it must approach the inventory control for these SKUs. Okay, so let's see how to go about this. I'll first go to the Excel file and look at the data. We have the data here for this company. We have the SKUs listed in the first column. And then we have the value per unit for that SKU and the units consumed per year. Okay, this is not about the stock level at a particular point of time, rather this is the flow. How much quantity of each SKU is flowing through the organization every year. That is what the third column is giving us. In the earlier examples, we saw the stock or the number of units at a given point of time. But now we are looking at the number of units moving or flowing through the organization over a period of time. And here the period of time is 1 year. Okay, so many units of each SKU are flowing through this organization in a year. Okay. Now, how do we classify the units using ABC analysis? Let's see how to do it. First, we'll do the numerical calculations, and then we will get into the concept of the underlying concept of ABC. Okay, so the first thing to do in ABC analysis is to look at how much is the total money value represented by each SKU that is flowing through the organization because of its flow of units. Okay, so you can say that value, total value per unit, total value of SKU flowing per year in rupees. All right, so for this, it's very simple. I just take this number, unit value, and the quantity consumed per year. Okay, and I double click, and that way I get the total value of the SKU flowing per year or sold or consumed per year. If not flowing, I would say consumed per year by the company. Okay, so you can see that there are different numbers, and some of these are very big numbers, some of them are relatively smaller. All right, now we need to know how much of the total value. Now, if you add up all these numbers, you get the total, and this is, you can see this big number here in the status bar, 7682444744.7. Okay, it's a big number, and this number is the total across all the SKUs of the value consumed in a year. Okay, but now we are not looking at the overall total alone. We want to know how much each SKU contributes to this total. Okay, so you can say that percentage of total value consumed per year. All right, so how do you do the percentage? The percentage is simple. I just have to divide this by the sum of all the values in this column. Okay, that is the percentage, and multiply it by 100. I can also express it as proportion if I want to. Okay, so I double click this and I get these numbers. Okay, so I double click and get these numbers, and you can see that these numbers are indicating the percentages. And in this particular example, we have the values clearly in descending order, because there has been a sorting of this data earlier before this example was shown to you. The data was sorted in a particular manner, and that's why you see that these values are already in decreasing order, normally when you get data, they may not be arranged in this order, in order which eventually gives them this decreasing order of the total value consumed. That may not happen, but in this case it's happening. So don't allow that to confuse you, how these numbers came to be like this. So you will see that there is a clear distribution. Okay, this item SKU 174 alone consumes nearly 20% or more than 20% of the total value across the 127 SKUs. So only one SKU, SKU 174, even though there are 127 SKUs, just one of them consumes more than one fifth of the total money value. Similarly, the second SKU in this order also consumes nearly 20%. The third SKU also consumes nearly 20%. So the first three SKUs together, if you add them up, you will get nearly 56, 57, 58%. 57 to 58% of the total value consumed by 127 SKUs is consumed by just the top three SKUs. Okay, now let's go forward, and you will see that there is a sudden drop now. SKU 151 consumes 7.39%, 106 consumes 7.01%, and then it keeps decreasing and so on. And eventually the numbers become very, very small. These are all the large number of SKUs you will see. A very large number of the 127 SKUs are only contributing to, let's say, 3% or 2% or 1% of the consumption, and many are even less than that. Okay, so are very less. So this actually is in percentage. So 1% is here, sorry. So these numbers were not even 1%. I was multiplying by 100. So these numbers are 0.04%, 0.05%, 0.03%. Okay, so a very large number is less than even 0.1%, less than even 0.1%. So we have essentially summarizing this, summarizing what we see in column E, we have a few SKUs in the company which are consumed in high value, in a lot of value. Okay, either because of their unit value being high, or because the number of units consumed is high. Either way. So a combination of the unit value and the number of units consumed gives them a very high value in the total, as a percentage of the total value consumed across SKUs. So across a few SKUs, we consume a large value, and across the remaining SKUs, we consume a small value. Okay, so this idea becomes the basis for the ABC analysis. And let's now actually plot this on a graph before we discuss further. I'm going to plot this number, and along with this, I'm going to plot one more number called the cumulative percentage. I'm going to calculate the cumulative percentage of total value consumed per year in rupees. Or sorry, this is total value. The value is in rupees, but this number is percentage. So to compute the cumulative, I'll take the first number as it is, and the second number onwards, I'll say add it to the previous number, and I will double click here. So at the last value here in this column should be 100. This is the cumulative value. Okay, now let me plot these two on a chart. I select these two and I go here, and let me say insert a chart. Okay, here I have charts now. I have two charts actually, two lines on this chart. One of them, the orange line, represents the cumulative value, and the blue line represents the individual values, not non-cumulative. Okay, now let me do like this. For the sake of convenience, I'll convert this blue line into a bar chart. I'll go here and I'll say click. I'll go to design, and then I'll say change the chart type. And you can see here in this dialog box, percentage of total value, the blue one, from a line, I'll convert this to bar. Okay, and I'll also say create a secondary axis. So I get one more y-axis. Right now there's only one y-axis. I get one more y-axis if I choose secondary axis. And then I'll say okay. Great. So now you can see what has happened is that the values of this one, these values became, the values in column E became these bars. And you can see that this orange line remains the line, and the orange line represents the cumulative cumulative of these bars, the cumulative of these bars over time. Okay. But then we have two y-axes and these are not synchronized with each other. You can see that this y-axis goes from 0 to 120. We will convert that to 0 to 100, format axis, and go here and maximum make it 100 and click on this. So this now becomes 100, and this also I will synchronize with that by converting this to 100. This is now running only up to 25, so I'll make it 100 and click here. Okay, done. All right. Now I have now two graphs on the same chart, two different items. Okay, and this chart is also called a Pareto chart. It's also called, what is it called? It's called a Pareto chart. A Pareto chart, and this came from the ideas. This was actually came from the ideas of a person by name, an Italian economist by name Vilfredo Pareto. And Vilfredo Pareto observed that the income distribution in his country, Italy, was something like 20% of the people had 80% of the income or wealth in the country, and the remaining 80% of the people had only the remaining 20% of the wealth in the country. So this was an observation that he made, and a great personality in the world of quality management by name Juran, he devised, or he spoke about what is called as the Pareto chart based on this idea, and he applied it to quality management. And he came out with the observation of the 80-20, what came to be known more popularly as the 80-20 principle. Now, this Pareto concept, the concept of a Pareto chart, can be applied to numerous situations in life, and we need not get 80-20 every time. Okay, it may be, say, 90-30. So these two numbers don't need to add up to 100 as well. Okay, so for example, here in our Excel file, we see that the cumulative percentage, you can see as we go down, we reach 80%, something like the 9th item or the 8th SKU. 8 SKUs account for about 80% of the total money value, right? And these are the ones with the big bars here. So 8 SKUs out of 127 is not 20%. It is much less than 20%. So in ABC analysis, what we do is we try to divide the number of SKUs, all the SKUs, 127 SKUs now, we try to divide this many number of SKUs into 3 groups, 3 categories: A category, B category, and C category. The A category is the one which has the highest money value. And so to decide where to draw the lines, we look at this cumulative line curve and typically look for inflection points, if inflection points are visible. For example, here there's an inflection point visible. The slope, when you say inflection point, what I mean is that the slope seems to be changing sharply. Okay, so here also we see a minor change in the slope, but here there is a much bigger change. And again here, somewhere here, we see another change in the slope, and then it gradually decreases. So we look for, when we want to do A, B, and C, 3 categories, we look for 2 inflection points and then divide into 3 categories. But there is no rule that you should do only 3. It's up to you as a manager. For convenience, you may find that it's better to have 4 categories or 5 categories. Then please go ahead and do that. But 3 categories has been the dominant norm, and that is why the name ABC came about. And so today we will discuss about ABC. So after having done this chart, I go back to my PPT and I'll show you what I found. So this is the same chart that I showed you on Excel. And here is the result represented as a table. In this table, you see the class A consists of the top 8 SKUs. And this accounts for 6% of the total number of SKUs. 8 divided by 127 is about 6%. And the money value consumed is 80%. Similarly, the middle class between the 2 inflection points is having 24 SKUs, and this represents 19% of the SKUs and 15% of the money value. The C class, the third remaining class, the biggest class, has 95 SKUs, which correspond to 75% of the SKUs, and they represent only 5% of the money value. Okay, so thus we have three classes. Let me summarize. 6% of the SKUs represent 80% of the money value consumed. 19% of the SKUs represent 15% of the money value consumed. And 75% of the SKUs represent only 5% of the money value consumed. Okay, so what implication does this have? So you can see that the management approach to managing these SKUs would be different. Okay, this is done for convenience, and like I said, you can have more categories as well. The class A SKUs would be the most frequently reviewed because you want to keep their inventory levels to as low as possible. Because they represent a huge money value, if you pile up, if you say, for example, buy in large quantities, if you buy for say a whole year and stock up at one shot, then you would be blocking a lot of money. Instead, you would say that, okay, because this represents a huge amount of money for these few SKUs, these 8 SKUs, I would buy them very frequently, maybe once every 2 weeks. Instead of buying for the whole year or buying for 6 months at one shot, I would buy for say, maybe just 1 week at a time. And every week I would have a new order and replenishment happening every week. So my inventory levels are fairly low and the money I'm blocking up in inventory is low. My holding costs become low. Okay, now look at the other end where the C class comes. In the C class, the money value that you are blocking up is very low, and therefore you can have looser control. You can say, let me buy for 6 months of this at a time. Let's say cotton. I can buy a lot of cotton, even though it may consume some space. I have enough space to store, so that's not a concern. Let me buy cotton for a whole year or half a year and keep. I won't keep buying it again and again. It's a relatively low value inventory. So here, keep in mind that when I say low value, I'm not saying it is not important. It is very important. Each SKU in this diagnostic lab is very important for the functioning of the diagnostic lab. So without the SKU, some functions may stop and the customers may not turn up. So it's not about importance. It's about the money value and how much holding costs we incur, right? So because they incur lower holding costs, we can buy in larger quantities and stock them up for longer periods of time. So that is the meaning of saying looser control and higher average inventory can be maintained. The in-between class will have an in-between approach where you will have less frequent than this, but more, less frequent than the earlier class, but more frequently than the lower class, the C class. Okay, so this is about ABC classification and analysis. You can read up more about this on the net and also watch other videos. Going forward, I will conclude this discussion, this video, by talking about how we actually apply ABC analysis in another way. It's also in the terms of how we count the inventory. The physical counting, or also known as cycle counting, the frequent counting that we do, is to reduce the discrepancy between actual and records. Because if there are discrepancies, it can disrupt operations or imply high costs later on. So to minimize discrepancies, we count frequently. So the frequency of counting will obviously be the highest for the A class items and the lowest for the C class items. And this also is convenient for us because the C class items are the most in number. The A class items are the least in number. The desired accuracy, there's been norms given by a famous association called EPICS, which is connected to production and inventory management in the world. EPICS says that the desired accuracy for A class items should be plus or minus 0.2%, means the tolerance, should be very accurate because they are high value items. But the tolerance limit can increase for B class items, plus or minus 1%, and can be the highest for the C class items, plus or minus 5%. Okay, so this is some follow-up on ABC analysis. Of course, ABC analysis is not done only for the purpose of identifying the counting frequency, but it has a larger application in terms of how you actually manage the inventory.